Hello, everyone. With data centers being in the news a lot recently, today's discussion should be especially interesting and insightful because of something that's happening in Northern Virginia. There's a productive relationship between data center provider DataBank and Culpeper County, specifically the Culpeper Technology Zone. Throughout this conversation, we'll refer to it as CTZ. Our guests today are Antonia Passalacqua. She's the legislative policy lead for DataBank, and Bryan Rothamel. He is the economic development director with Culpeper County. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Judith. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Bryan, I'm going to start with you. So the Culpeper Technology Zone was designed specifically to centralize growth and to maximize the community benefit. So from your perspective, tell us what impact it's already having on the local community and the economy.
Yeah, the Culpeper Tech Zone is really important for the future of the county. We entered this data center conversation long ago, back in the 80s when we got Swift, and then Equinix in 2008. And then we had a bit of a lull. And as we went to new age data centers, campus style, associated electrical infrastructure nearby, we started to learn a lot starting in 2021. And that's when we decided to centralize to the Culpeper Tech Zone. Um, as that part of that process, the advantages are numerous that we view. You can bring electrical using one power corridor. That's obviously critical. We learned quite quickly we did not want power lines to crisscross throughout the entire county. So we viewed having an identified electrical corridor as important. We also could provide water and sewer to these facilities. We are not a great community for water cool. We don't have tremendous amount of water capacity, but we still wanted to be able to provide public utilities for the employees, right? Sanitation reasons. So you're able to do
Good.
that. And then one of the coolest things about the Culpeper Tech Zone is it's where our community college is located, as well as our career and technical education center. So having both of those there, we have just a centralized hub. It's along US 29, so it's a 4-lane US highway. There's tremendous synergy happening already as we see development starting to take off, where companies are reaching out and wanting to meet with our students and hire our students. So we really appreciate that. I think those are just a few of the quick advantages that the Culpeper Tech Zone gives us.
And aptly named, for sure. Uh, Antonia, let's go over to you. So from DataBank's perspective, what made Culpeper County and specifically the Culpeper Technology Zone attractive for investment and growth?
Of course. Well, for a multitude of reasons. Currently, we are owning and operating 4 data centers in the Northern Virginia market. So when we were looking to expand on that, Culpeper was very attractive for a multitude of reasons. But first, its proximity to Ashburn was top of mind for us. Culpeper also was a nascent data center cluster, and data center clusters are great for workload syncing. And not to mention exactly what Bryan has built with the CTZ zone has been a municipal environment that we really want to be part of. They directly have a streamlined pipeline from conception to groundbreaking, and that makes building a data center within the CTZ zone really a seamless process and a process that municipalities could take on across the US.
Awesome. Bryan, let's go back to you. A big part of Culpeper's approach has been this balance. You know, you want to balance growth and then preserving the county's character. So, what does responsible growth mean in the context of the CTZ, and how are you seeing that play out?
Yeah, Culpeper County is 383 square miles, mostly green, mostly still very rural. The CTZ represents about just under 1,000 acres, 0.4% of the entire county. To me, I like to plan out how we're growing and where we're going. Just made a lot of sense that we could centralize this so that it allows us to take revenue that we're receiving so that we can see the other aspects of our county stay as we'd like. These properties are in our development area. They're beside what has already been developed. This is where development was happening. They're also where two of our data centers are already located for many years. So it all works, and then it allows us to, when we got the calls from data center developers like DataBank, and they said, "Hey, where would you like us to go?" We could quite clearly point on a map. This is where we would like. All of this is not where we would like. And that made that conversation so much easier. And really, at that point, when we're approving them and going through, we're not talking about the use. We're not talking about the facilities. We're talking about specific issues that are on each of these sites. Is the lighting thoughtful? Have we put the sound, the equipment that makes sound? Can we mitigate those? Those are very thoughtful discussions because we know where we want the use.
That's going to play in. Remember that to a question I'm going to ask you in a little while. But Antonia, let's go back to you for a sec. So DataBank is in your role. We're working closely with policymakers and local communities. How do you see DataBank's role in ensuring that data center development benefits not just the industry, but also residents and small businesses, and specifically in Culpeper?
So this is a lot to unpack with that question. And first, I kind of want to provide a little bit of perspective of who are the users of data centers. Everyday users of a data center are people like me and you. If I want to transfer funds from one bank account to the other, we're sitting on this call right now. If I want to talk to my family that lives across the world or even down the street on FaceTime, those are the users that directly benefit from data center infrastructure. If I'm in an emergency and I need to call emergency services, we need data centers to be able to sustain these everyday uses. And the city of Culpeper is no different for that. What Bryan has built directly addresses the needs of the community, because he's saying, look, you don't want data centers in your backyard. I understand that. We're building that. We're only going to center data centers in a specific pocket of Culpeper. And that is great for the community. Here at DataBank, we always say we put people first, and we truly do that in every market that we're operating in. And that's something that we also are doing in Culpeper by partnering with Bryan and the municipalities. The last thing I'll leave you with is data centers provide a huge tax revenue for communities. During when we're in the construction phases and even after, we want to make sure that we're also being a good partner to the community. And how can we employ the community to be part of this project? How can we work with the community colleges and the educational centers that Bryan mentioned to build a workforce pipeline to be part of the good story that is being told here and built? And I'll just leave it at that. We're very excited to continue to work with you, Bryan.
That's a great segue here. So my last question here is really for both of you. I happen to know that Culpeper's being watched closely, and you might even call it this your approach, and specifically how you're working with DataBank, is you could consider this a model for how counties can attract technology investment while respecting local values. So for both of you, what lessons do you think other communities could take from this Culpeper Technology Zone story?
I'll go first. For me, there's two things that I always think about. One is, especially in rural communities, we struggle with saying who we are and what we want. I think the CTZ quite clearly said, this is who we are, and this is where we want it. And we only want 0.4% of the county. We are not the solution for everyone. There were plenty of phone calls from data center companies that said, we want to, build 1,000 acres. And I said, that's not going to be a good fit here. That's not really what we're looking for. Best of luck. We're not the answer for everyone, but we know we're the answer for certain people. And then on the flip side, what we said to the companies is, hey, you want to be in Culpeper? Great. But this is what it takes to be successful in Culpeper. You need to be community minded. We're really big into our partnerships, we're really big into education. And a company like DataBank has heard that, very loudly, and has responded so far very, very open to it and excited about it. And I think that's the nice thing is as DataBank is thoughtfully going through these connections and these conversations, the next person that I introduce Antonia and her team to, they go, oh, that was a great call. I can't wait till we get to work with them again because you really are trying to put the people first. And I think that's a very important part. We're honest about who our community is. We're honest about what we want. And we're okay if that doesn't work for everyone. But if you want to be here, like this is what it takes. And we're really thankful for companies like DataBank who've said, okay, like let's do it together. And our goal, we start off with the CTZ. I start every meeting with our partners with the same thing. We're looking for the best example of cluster development in the world, of data center cluster development in the world. And whatever we can do to get as close to that as possible, let's do that together. I really appreciate everyone that does.
Terrific. Antonia, your side of that.
Yes, and to that point, Bryan, you absolutely have to take a victory lap for this idea because the real takeaway for us as well is the way in which data center developers and municipalities can work together for the good of the community. This model we constantly preach to the mountaintops in other markets as well. Look what Culpeper and the CTC zone are doing with each other, what municipalities are doing with data center developers. It's been the pleasure of a lifetime working with you, Bryan, on this. And we're very excited to be the first data center in the CTZ zone to break ground and continue on the process. And I know there's going to be a lot of other touch points where we're going to talk to each other as we continue to develop and be part of the amazing community that Culpeper is. And we're very excited about this model. We're excited to be an example in this model as well and be an example for other communities that are thinking about taking up a similar model. It absolutely is seamless. So really, this is a huge victory for you, Bryan, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
The same. You guys, everyone at the DataBank team has been a lot of fun, and I know we have a lot of good plans that I hope we get a chance to talk about in the future as we get going.
All right.
Absolutely.
I love these insights, and I think you both have almost volunteered for a follow-up conversation as we learn a little bit more after construction continues. But thank you for your insights. Thank you for your time. And for those of you who are watching, you can check out other videos on DataBank's YouTube channel. You can learn about many aspects of IT infrastructure, and you can also get some lessons on developing a healthy business culture. Bye for now.